Hey guys, how's it going? My name's Joe. Welcome to recap episode number. I think we're on 95 now. We're covering in this episode Aerofighters, Hank Williams Bassin's Black Bass, MTV's Beavis and Butthead, Unser Jr.'s Road to the Top, and Aero the Acrobat 2. Let's get started. First up is Aerofighters. It's a port of the arcade game Aerofighters. There's not much to say beyond that. It is a good-looking, well-playing shoot 'em up from the early-ish 90s that did very well on arcades, and it ports over pretty well to the Super Nintendo. The original game played in a vertical screen, so it loses some being on a horizontal screen, which is what I'm playing on, obviously, because it's squished out. If you're playing on a 4x3 or 3x4, whatever the hell the normal resolution was back in the 90s, it might not be so bad. But it looked good. The music was good. The controls were good. I'm just realizing my couch camera is kind of jacked here. I'm off center. So yeah, this one gets a thumbs up. It's pretty solid shoot 'em up. If you like shoot 'em ups, you probably dig Aerofighters. Go give it a look. Don't go looking for it because the cartridge is god awful expensive. And I don't know why. My guess is rarity because it was. I don't know. I don't have a good explanation for why it was so goddamn expensive to collect this one, but yeah, play it, but don't buy it. Next up, Hank Williams Bassin's Black Bass. This is interesting because it's I guess it's part of the Black Bass series, but I played Super Black Bass previously. Now, the games do have a lot of similarities, like the way it's an over pond, you throw your lure out and you can see the fish in the water and try and aim your lure at them. The controls are very similar. What this one does is tries to add a lot more. I don't know that I want to say story, but you've got your little animated dude down there in the boat that you can see now. Every time you catch a fish, it shows you like pull it up and it's like, hey, it was 3 pounds. It's a good bass. We'll put this one in the well, or hey, it was a crappie. We'll throw it back. And then at the end of the game, or at the end of each tournament, you go over the weigh-in. It shows your fish and tells you what they weigh and puts you in your rankings. And there's like this fat mayor carnival barker looking dude who's like, good job, you made blah blah blah. You did or didn't qualify. My biggest argument with that is the ending scene is really really long, because you can't skip through it, and it's just like, here's this bass, it was 3 pounds. Here's this bass, it was 12 pounds. Here's this bass, it was 4 pounds. Here's this, and it's just very, very long and drawn out and unnecessary. The graphics were okay. The music was okay. It's a fishing game. I'm pretty sure I like Super Black Bass because that's the one I played with my dad. So pure nostalgia and rose tinted glasses there, and I think I still gave it a thumbs down. This one's getting a thumbs down. Fishing on the Super Nintendo is boring. The only good fishing game I've played is Sega's Bass and Marine Fishing on the Dreamcast. You get your little Dreamcast fishing rod controller, and they're arcade games. So it's like, oh, you got the big fish and blah blah blah. So those games are kind of exciting and interesting. So if you want a fishing game, look those up. Ignore Black Bass. Thumbs down. Next up, MTV's Beavis and Butthead. Licensed schlock. The animation looks awful, but that's because the TV show looked awful. I don't care for this animation style. I think it looks shit. I thought it looked terrible when I was a kid. I think it looked terrible now. The music and sound was mediocre at best. This is a bad licensed platformer-ish, really. The best thing you can say about this game is it does give you both characters. You can press select to switch between them, and because of that, they can each have different weapons, which you might find better or worse depending on what kind of enemies in your way. There's like God knows how many levels. It seemed to go on forever. The enemies aren't damage sponges, but they don't really. Well, I take that back. If you try to kill an enemy, they are damage sponges. But most of them have something like that where they stun out for a second so you can get past them. The one boss I did manage to get to in the game took forever. There was a whole level of jumping on clotheslines with dogs jumping up at you. That level was garbage. It sucked. All in all, it just wasn't a good game. I wouldn't recommend it. Maybe if you really like Beavis and Butthead. But I can't see a whole lot of people like that. It's just, it wasn't fun. Don't play it. Not worth it. Thumbs down, Beavis and Butthead. Next up, Unser Jr.'s Road to the Top. Now, this game gets credit for trying two new things. I'll give it credits, all right? First off, they absolutely snatched the Mario Kart style on this. I'm currently in a goat kart. The tracks work the exact same way as in Mario Kart. You drive around them, they look just like Mario Kart tracks. The background, it's Mario Kart, dude. They straight jacked its code. But they did two things here that Mario Kart doesn't. First off, and you're not going to see it on this particular track that I'm on, they added hills, which I'm not sure. I mean, it's not like they're huge hills or they make any game harder or easier, but it's a nice visual change that you can. It does have kind of an up and down feel to it, so they managed to put hills in it. And then the second thing they did is, this is a weird racing game where you're racing against Unser Jr. in a bunch of different events. So you got go-karts, snowmobiles, F1 racers, and NASCARs. The go-kart and snowmobile actually play pretty decent. And the snowmobile is kind of an interesting idea. You didn't see snowmobiles a lot back then represented in any kind of racing games. There was a snowmobile arcade game. I can't remember what it was called. But I remember you sat down and it kind of looked like a snowmobile on it. And I'm sure it was probably made by Sega because they made all that weird shit. Like Hang On was the one, I think, where you sat on a motorcycle, and Thunderbolt, you were like in the helicopter with the stick. And Sega made great arcade games. And it's too bad that arcades are dead because they put a lot of money into their shit. But the NASCAR and the F1 racing in this is terrible. There's no music. The controls are okay. The sound is okay. Gameplay was okay. Again, snowmobile and go-kart was fine. The two racings were kind of garbage. Take it for what it is. I'm giving it a thumbs down. It's definitely interesting to look at and play. You know, I might say go give it a look just for funsies, just for the snowmobile racing, frankly. I don't know if there's another snowmobile racing game in the 16-bit generation of consoles. You know, I don't think that came around until probably the 64. There might have been one on the PlayStation. So you're talking arcades and PSX and up that I can think of. So it gets credit for that, but not a great game. Don't bother looking it up. Unser Jr. Road to the Top. Finally, we get Aero the Acrobat 2. This is a sequel. I gave the first one a thumbs down. The first one had a number of things that I didn't like. This one has a number of those too. But things in the first one that I didn't like that this one corrected were a couple. So the first game had a timer that ran down and killed you. This game got rid of the timer. The second game had the levels were very, very labyrinthian. You know, up, down, left, right, all over the goddamn place. And it was really, really hard to figure out where you were going, where you were supposed to go. And I just found it confusing, and it ruined it for me. Other complaints are that you have a momentum buildup in this that feels very slippery when you start running. The controls aren't amazing, but they function well enough. The music was decent, but this game got rid of the timer, and the levels were significantly more linear, which is always nice. I did get kind of stuck. You see me doing this like spin kind of jump to make distance here. The enemies were... I'm not going to say they're damaged sponges. You have to hit them a couple times. That's not that bad. It's just that the controls don't lend themselves particularly well to combat. And you do pick up stars that you can throw, but those are a limited ammo quantity as you pick them up. The grapple here was nice on the bells. The graphics were good. It's very... the details were nice. It looked great. I actually give this one a thumbs up because this is much more akin to what I feel is a normal platformer. It's linear, it's left to right. The challenge is navigating that level, not having to explore for your exit. Everything looked good. The music was okay. It was nothing to write home about. And the gameplay, while not what I'm going to say was amazing, was good enough that I enjoyed my hour with it. So I give Aero the Acrobat 2 a thumbs up. Don't bother with the first, but the second's okay. And that's it. That's these 5 games, guys. Episode 95 recap done and dusted. We're coming real close to, like 500 games in the bag here? Really, really close. So, only like another 25 games to go. And that's exciting. And probably only another like 2.5 years to finish covering them all, for God's sakes. But I appreciate y'all sticking with me for all these years. And we'll see y'all later. Have a good one.